Graphing Polynomials Day 2. This is the last part of 3.4. It's the same information as part 1, just going through another example to help solidify all these steps you need to go through when you are graphing. So same list of things that you need every time. You need to find the zeros, which we talked about are your x-intercepts. The multiplicity, that's, remember, if it's even, it bounces off the x-axis, and when it's odd, it cuts through the x-axis. The y-intercept, which is when we put 0 in and we find out our y value. The mid-interval, which is when we take the average of each pair of x-intercepts. You have to put them in order first. Average of x-intercepts, and then you substitute back in to find y. The end behavior, that's the as x approaches negative infinity and infinity notation. And you have all the rest of that. And then we use it all to help us graph. So those same things that we used last time, if you didn't catch the first video and where we went over those in more detail, go back and watch that first and then come back and do this one. Go ahead and start on number 3. They gave you 1 as a 0, so you can do your synthetic division. Put 1 in and see what you get. Come back and check it out. So we're going to put 1 in, and then the coefficients across the top. 1, -1, -3, 5, and -2. Then we bring down this first one, multiply and add as we go across. Whoops, 1 times 0 is not -3. I was already adding. There we go, -3 goes there. -3, 2, and 2, we get that 0 that they told us we would get. Now the directions say that 1 is a repeated 0. That means we use these new coefficients and do 1 again. So 1, 1, 1, 1, -2, -2, 0. And now, so we started with a quartic, we went to a cubic, now we're at a quadratic. So we have x squared plus x minus 2. We're going to factor that. X plus 2 times x minus 1. So we find our other two zeros that we don't know yet are -2 and a +1. All right, so kind of to summarize what we've just located here, our zeros are -2 and then 1, 1, 1. 1 showed up 3 times, twice in our synthetic division and once in our factoring. So our multiplicity, the -2 has a multiplicity of 1, and then you'll see here we have 3 1s. Now both of those are odd numbers, shows up an odd number of times. So that means it's going to cut through at 1, and it's also going to cut through at 3, cut through that x-axis. All right, so that's step 1, finding the zeros and checking out their multiplicity. Then we need to locate the y-intercept. That's when we put a 0 in for x, and all the terms with an x go away, and we're left with that constant value of -2. Then we need to look at our mid-intervals. We're going to abbreviate that MI. We only have 2 zeros, so -2 and 1. We're finding the average of those. -2 plus 1. I'll write the actual math down here in case you forgot how to find an average. -2 plus 1 divided by 2, so -1/2. Now that's just the x-coordinate of our mid-interval. Then you have to take that x value and put it back in for all of these x's to find the y value. And when you do that, you get -5.1. So that's the mid-interval we will use. And then we need to take a look at our end behavior. So for our end behavior, we have a degree of 4, that's even. We have a leading coefficient of 1, that's positive. So when you have an even positive, it looks like a parabola. So when I write my notation, I'd say as x approaches negative infinity, f of x is going to infinity. And as x approaches positive infinity, f of x is going to positive infinity. All right, so we have all of our necessary information. Then we want to put that on our graph. So we want to put our x-intercept of -2 and of +1. We have our y-intercept of 0, -2, and our mid-interval of -1/2, -3, 4, 5. Because of our in behavior, we know that we're going to start high on the right. We're going to go to our first 0 of -2, and it tells us we cut through it. We'll go down here, go back up to our next 0 of 1, and it says we cut through it. And we end up going up, just like our in behavior said we would. On the right side, our ends going towards infinity.